What if I told you that somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, drifting between the stars, there's a ship that holds the key to humanity's greatest mystery, a vessel so advanced that even our most brilliant scientists can't fully comprehend its technology. A starship that's been waiting for over 10,000 years. Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible stories of human ingenuity, sacrifice, and the unbreakable will to survive. This is the tale of the UES Chronos, a ship that became legend, a crew that became myth, and a discovery that would shake the very foundations of galactic civilization. But before we begin this epic journey, make sure to hit that like button if you're ready for an adventure that spans millennia. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, because stories like this are exactly why this channel exists. Captain Zara Chen of the exploration vessel New Horizon had seen her share of mysteries in the Outer Rim territories. Derelict ships, abandoned colonies, the occasional pirate hideout. Nothing that hadn't been cataloged and filed away in some bureaucrat's database back on Earth. But this was different. "Captain," called out her science officer, Lieutenant Torres, his voice tight with excitement and confusion, "you need to see this." The bridge of the New Horizon fell silent as the main view screen flickered to life. There, hanging in the void like a sleeping giant, was a ship unlike anything in the current fleet registry. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of their own vessel, with sleek, organic curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Strange energy patterns pulsed along its hull in rhythmic waves, as if the ship itself was breathing. "Scan results, Torres," Chen ordered, unable to take her eyes off the magnificent vessel. "That's just it, Captain. Our scanners are confused. The ship's composition includes materials we don't have names for. The energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. And Captain," Torres paused, double-checking his readings, "according to our chronometer analysis, this ship has been drifting here for approximately 10,000 years. A murmur rippled through the bridge crew. 10,000 years ago, humanity had barely discovered agriculture, let alone space travel. "Life signs?" Chen asked, though she already suspected the answer. "None detected, but..." Torres frowned at his console. "There's something strange. The ship's power core is still active. After 10 millennia, it's still running at 67% capacity." Chen made her decision. "Prep a boarding party, full environmental suits, standard exploration protocol. And Torres?" "Yes, Captain?" "Make sure we record everything. Something tells me we're about to make history." What Captain Chen and her crew were about to discover would not only rewrite human history, but reveal a truth so profound that it would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. But they weren't the only ones interested in this mysterious vessel. The airlock of the ancient ship hissed open with a sound that seemed to echo through time itself. Captain Chen led her team of 6 through corridors that defied conventional ship design. The walls weren't just metal, they seemed to be alive, pulsing with that same rhythmic energy they'd observed from outside. "Artificial gravity is functional," reported Chief Engineer Martinez, checking his instruments. "Atmosphere is breathable? How is that possible after 10,000 years?" "The ship's systems are more advanced than anything we've ever seen," Torres replied, running a scanner along the walls. "It's like the entire vessel is one massive, integrated organism." As they moved deeper into the ship, emergency lighting flickered on automatically, illuminating their path. The corridors were vast, clearly designed for beings much larger than humans. Strange symbols covered the walls, not carved or painted, but somehow grown into the metal itself. "Captain," called out Security Chief Rodriguez from up ahead, "you need to see this." They rounded a corner and stopped dead in their tracks. Before them stretched a massive chamber, easily the size of a football stadium. filled with what could only be described as stasis pods, hundreds of them, arranged in perfect geometric patterns, each one glowing with a soft blue light. "My God," whispered Dr. Zara Chen, the team's xenobiologist. "They're occupied." Chen approached the nearest pod, her heart racing. Through the translucent surface, she could see a figure. Humanoid, but clearly not human. The being was tall, perhaps 8 feet, with elongated limbs and features that seemed both alien and strangely familiar. "Captain," Torres called out, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "I'm reading massive data storage systems throughout this area. If I'm interpreting these energy patterns correctly, each pod is connected to some kind of neural network." "A collective consciousness?" Dr. Kim suggested, her scientific mind racing with possibilities. "More than that," Torres replied, his scanner beeping rapidly. I think they're dreaming. All of them, together, in some kind of shared virtual reality." But it was what they found in the ship's central core that would change everything. While Captain Chen and her team explored the mysterious vessel, they were unaware that their discovery had not gone unnoticed. Deep in the shadows of a nearby asteroid field, a sleek, predatory ship observed their every move. Commander Vex of the Hegemony Intelligence Division watched the human exploration through advanced surveillance systems. His species, the Kythara, had ruled this sector of space for over 2,000 years, and they did not appreciate surprises. "Analysis complete, Commander," reported his tactical officer. "The vessel matches descriptions from our most ancient archives. It's one of the Predecessor ships." Vex's 4 eyes narrowed. The Predecessors were legend, an ancient race that had supposedly vanished from the galaxy eons ago, leaving behind only myths and scattered ruins. If this ship was real, if it contained Predecessor technology, "Prepare the strike team," Vex ordered. "We cannot allow the humans to claim this prize. The secrets of the Predecessors belong to the Hegemony." "Sir, our intelligence suggests the humans have already boarded the vessel. Should we attack immediately?" Ava. Vex considered this. The humans were a young species, barely worthy of notice under normal circumstances, but they had a reputation for unpredictability. "No, let them explore. Let them activate whatever systems they find. Then we take everything. The ship, the technology, and any humans who might prove useful for interrogation." The Kythara ship moved deeper into the asteroid field, its cloaking systems rendering it invisible to human sensors. They would wait and watch, and when the moment was right, they would strike. But Commander Vex had made a critical error. He had underestimated not just the humans, but the true nature of what they had discovered. In the ship's central core, Captain Chen and her team stood before something that defied description. It was part computer, part organic brain, part something else entirely. A massive crystalline structure that pulsed with the same rhythm as the ship itself. "It's beautiful," Dr. Kim whispered, approaching the structure with scientific reverence. "It's also scanning us," Torres warned, his instruments going wild. "The entire core is analyzing our biological signatures, our technology, even our thoughts." Suddenly, the chamber filled with a sound. Not quite music, not quite language, but something that seemed to speak directly to their minds. The crystalline structure began to glow brighter, and holographic displays materialized around them, showing star charts, mathematical equations, and images of civilizations they'd never seen. Then, impossibly, a voice spoke, not through their communicators, but directly into their consciousness. "Welcome, children of Earth. We have been waiting." The team froze. Chen was the first to find her voice. Who are you?" "We are the architects. We are the ones who came before, and you are the ones who will come after." The holographic displays shifted, showing the history of the galaxy, civilizations rising and falling, wars that spanned millennia, and through it all, a pattern, a design. Every species reaches a crossroads, the voice continued. A moment when they must choose between transcendence and extinction. Your species approaches that moment now. What do you mean? Dr. Kim asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. The displays changed again, showing Earth, but not as they knew it. This was Earth as it could be, transformed by technology beyond their wildest dreams. Cities that floated among the clouds, oceans teeming with engineered life, humans who had evolved beyond their current limitations. We were like you once, young, ambitious, reaching for the stars. But we learned that true evolution is not just technological, it is spiritual, mental, dimensional. We transcended our physical forms and became something greater. The beings in the stasis pods, Chen realized. They're not dead. They are us, in our final physical forms. We chose to preserve these shells, while our consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of space and time. This ship, the Chronos, is our gift to you, a repository of knowledge, a tool for your own transcendence. Torres was frantically recording everything, his instruments barely able to process the data flowing around them. Captain, the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever this thing is, it's more powerful than our entire fleet combined. But their moment of wonder was about to be shattered. The ship shuddered violently, throwing the exploration team against the walls of the core chamber. Emergency alarms began blaring throughout the ancient vessel. "What the hell was that?" Rodriguez shouted, helping Dr. Kim to her feet. Torres was already checking his scanner. Multiple energy signatures approaching fast, unknown configuration, but they're big. The voice of the architects filled their minds again, but now it carried a note of urgency. "The hegemony has found us. They seek to claim our knowledge for conquest, not transcendence. You must not let them succeed." On the bridge of the New Horizon, the crew watched in horror as 3 massive Kythara warships decloaked around them. Each vessel was twice the size of their exploration ship, bristling with weapons that could reduce them to atoms in seconds. "This is Commander Vex of the Hegemony 4th Fleet," came the transmission. "You will immediately withdraw from the predecessor vessel and submit to boarding. Resistance will result in your destruction." Captain Chen's voice crackled through the comm system from inside the ancient ship. "New Horizon, this is Chen. Do not comply with their demands. We've made contact with the ship's inhabitants. This technology cannot fall into hegemony hands." The Kythara ships opened fire, but their weapons struck an invisible barrier surrounding the ancient vessel. The Chronos had activated its defenses. "The ship will protect you," the architects explained, "but not for long. The hegemony's weapons are powerful, and our energy reserves are not infinite. You must make a choice." "What kind of choice?" Chen demanded. The crystalline core pulsed brighter, and suddenly Chen could see, not with her eyes, but with her mind. She saw the true scope of the architect's knowledge, technologies that could reshape matter at the molecular level, weapons that could crack planets, defenses that could turn entire fleets into harmless light, and more. The secrets of consciousness transfer, of dimensional travel, of evolution beyond the physical realm. "We can give you the power to defeat the hegemony," the voice explained, "but the knowledge comes with a price. Once you accept our gift, there is no going back. Your species will be forever changed." Outside, the hegemony ships were coordinating their attack, their combined firepower slowly wearing down the ancient ship's shields. Commander Vex watched with satisfaction as the barrier began to flicker. "Increase power to all weapons," he ordered. "I want that ship's defenses down in the next 5 minutes." But inside the Chronos, Captain Chen was making a decision that would echo through history. "Captain," Torres said urgently, "the ship's shields are down to 23% and falling. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now." Chen looked around at her team, these brave men and women who had followed her into the unknown. Dr. Kim was studying the holographic displays with fascination, her scientific mind already grasping the implications of what they'd discovered. Martinez was examining the ship's systems, his engineer's instincts telling him that this technology could revolutionize human civilization. Rodriguez stood ready for whatever came next, his loyalty absolute. "The choice must be yours, Captain Chen," the architect said. "But know this, if the hegemony claims our knowledge, they will use it to enslave every free species in the galaxy. They see only power, not wisdom, only conquest, not growth." "What exactly are you offering?" Chen asked. The crystalline core pulsed, and suddenly Chen's mind was flooded with visions. She saw human ships that could travel not just faster than light, but outside of time itself. She saw colonies on worlds that existed in parallel dimensions. She saw humans who had evolved beyond the need for physical bodies. Their consciousness expanded to encompass entire star systems. But she also saw the cost. The humans in these visions were no longer entirely human. They had become something greater, yes, but also something fundamentally different. "Evolution is not without sacrifice," the architects acknowledged, reading her thoughts. "But the alternative is stagnation and eventually extinction. The hegemony will not stop with this ship. They will come for Earth, for all human worlds. With our knowledge, you can not only defend yourselves, but guide other species toward their own transcendence." The ship shuddered again as the hegemony weapons found their mark. The shields were failing. "Captain," came the voice of her first officer from the New Horizon. "Hegemony boarding pods are launching. They'll be here in 3 minutes." Chen closed her eyes and made her choice. "Do it," she said. "Give us the knowledge." The crystalline core erupted in brilliant light, and suddenly Chen felt her consciousness expanding. The knowledge of the architects flowed into her mind. Not just information, but understanding. She could see the quantum structure of reality, the mathematical principles that govern space and time, the biological pathways that led to transcendence. But she wasn't alone. The knowledge was flowing into all of them, her entire team, and through the ship's communication systems to the crew of the New Horizon as well. "It is done," the architect said, their voice now seeming to come from within Chen's own mind. "You are no longer merely human. You are the next step in your species' evolution. Use this gift wisely." Chen opened her eyes, and the world looked different. She could see energy patterns flowing through the ship's walls, could sense the quantum fluctuations in the space around them, could feel the consciousness of every living being within 1,000 kilometers. "Torres," she said, her voice carrying new harmonics, "can you interface with the ship's weapons systems?" Torres nodded, his own enhanced consciousness already reaching out to touch the ancient technology. "I can do more than that, Captain. I can become the weapons systems." The hegemony boarding pods struck the hull of the Chronos, their cutting beams beginning to slice through the ancient metal. But they were too late. What happened next would be remembered as the moment humanity announced its presence to the galaxy as a force to be reckoned with. The Chronos, dormant for 10,000 years, came alive with power that defied physics. The ship didn't just move, it danced through space, its hull flowing like liquid as it adapted to the hegemony's attacks. Weapons that should have destroyed it were absorbed and converted into pure energy, feeding the ship's systems. Commander Vex watched in growing horror as his weapons fire was not just deflected, but absorbed by the ancient vessel. The ship's hull rippled and flowed, adapting to each attack in real time. "Impossible," he breathed. "No technology can do that." But inside the Chronos, Captain Chen and her team were no longer bound by the limitations of possible. Torres had merged his consciousness with the ship's weapons array, his enhanced mind calculating targeting solutions across 17 dimensions simultaneously. Dr. Kim was interfacing with the biological systems. Her understanding of life itself expanded beyond anything she'd dreamed possible. "Captain," Torres said, his voice now carrying harmonic frequencies that resonated through the ship's hull, "I have weapons lock on all 3 hegemony vessels. But these aren't just weapons, they're tools of transformation." Chen nodded, understanding flowing through her enhanced consciousness. The architects hadn't just given them the power to destroy, they'd given them the power to evolve others, whether they wanted it or not. "Fire," she commanded. What emerged from the Chronos wasn't energy beams or missiles, but something far more terrifying. Waves of pure evolutionary force that struck the hegemony ships and began rewriting their very molecular structure. The Kythara crews watched in terror as their vessels began to change, their hulls becoming organic, their weapons transforming into something beyond their comprehension. "Out, ships! Retreat!" Vex screamed into his communicator. "Full power to engines!" But it was too late. The evolutionary wave had already reached his flagship. Vex felt his own body beginning to change, his consciousness expanding against his will. He could suddenly perceive dimensions of reality he'd never imagined, could feel the quantum connections between all living things. What have you done to us?" he transmitted to the Chronos, his voice now carrying the same harmonic frequencies as the humans. Chen's response came not through radio waves, but directly into his mind. "We've given you what you sought, Commander. Evolution. The question is, what will you do with it?" The 3 hegemony ships hung motionless in space, their crews struggling to comprehend their new existence. They were still Kythara, but they were also something more. Beings capable of perceiving the true nature of the universe. "This is your choice now," Chen continued, her consciousness touching each of the transformed Kythara. "You can use this gift to continue your path of conquest, or you can join us in guiding the galaxy toward transcendence. But know this, you can never go back to what you were." In the days that followed, word of the encounter spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. The hegemony, faced with the transformation of an entire fleet, declared the humans a threat to galactic stability. But other species saw something different. Hope. Captain Chen, now serving as humanity's first transcendent ambassador, stood before the Galactic Council on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. Her appearance had changed subtly. Her eyes now held depths that seemed to contain entire universes, and when she spoke, her words carried harmonics that resonated in the minds of every being present. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice reaching not just their ears but their consciousness itself. "We stand at a crossroads. For too long, this galaxy has been trapped in cycles of conquest and subjugation. Species rise, dominate others, then fall to be replaced by the next conqueror. The architects showed us a different path." The hegemony representative, a transformed Kythara named Zex, formerly Commander Vex, stood to address the council. His own evolution had been profound. Where once he had seen only through the lens of military dominance, he now perceived the interconnectedness of all life. "Humans speak truth," Zex said, his words causing ripples of shock through the assembly. "I came to destroy them, to claim their discovery for the hegemony's glory. Instead, they showed me what we could become. Not conquerors, but gardeners of consciousness itself." The delegate from the Zephyrine Collective, a species known for their philosophical nature, leaned forward. "You speak of transcendence, but at what cost? Are you still human, Captain Chen? Are the Kythara still themselves?" Chen smiled, and for a moment, every being in the chamber could feel her joy, her wonder at existence itself. "We are more than we were, yet still ourselves. Evolution doesn't erase the past, it builds upon it. The architects didn't replace our humanity, they revealed its true potential." She gestured, and holographic displays filled the chamber, showing the transformed human colonies, cities that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Humans who could communicate across vast distances through quantum entanglement, children being born with capabilities that previous generations could only dream of. This is not conquest, Chen continued. This is invitation. The knowledge of the architects is freely given to any species ready to take the next step. But it must be chosen, not forced. The hegemony delegate, an old Kythara general named Korax, slammed his appendage on his speaking platform. You offer pretty words, but you've weaponized evolution itself. You transformed our ships, our crews, without their consent. Chen's expression grew serious. Your crews came to destroy us, to steal knowledge that could have uplifted the entire galaxy. We gave them a choice: evolve or remain trapped in cycles of violence. They chose evolution, even if they didn't realize it at the time. And what of those who refuse your gift? Asked the Centaurian Prime Minister. What happens to species that choose to remain as they are? They remain free to choose their own path, Chen replied. But they should know that the galaxy is changing. The old ways of thinking, the old limitations are falling away. Those who cling to them may find themselves left behind, not by force, but by the simple progression of consciousness itself. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the transformed hegemony fleet had become something unprecedented. The 3 ships, once instruments of war, had evolved into something resembling living organisms. Their crews, led by the transformed Commander Vex, now calling himself Vexthara, meaning one who sees beyond in the ancient Kythara tongue, had established the first interspecies transcendent collective. Status report? Vexthara requested, though the concept of status had taken on new meaning. He wasn't just asking about ship systems. He was inquiring about the collective consciousness of his crew, their spiritual and evolutionary development. The integration proceeds smoothly, reported his former tactical officer, now serving as a consciousness coordinator. 17 crew members have achieved dimensional perception. 5 have successfully communicated with the quantum substrate, and 3, she paused, wonder in her voice, 3 have made contact with the architects directly. Vexthara nodded, feeling a deep satisfaction that had nothing to do with military victory. And the other hegemony fleets? They maintain their distance, but we're detecting increased quantum resonance from several vessels. The transformation is spreading, not through force, but through choice. Our crews are communicating with their former comrades, sharing what they've experienced. This was the true power of the architect's gift. It wasn't just individual evolution, but the creation of a network of consciousness that transcended species boundaries. The hegemony's rigid hierarchy was dissolving, replaced by something far more beautiful and complex. Set course for the outer rim, Vexthara commanded. There are species there who have never known anything but oppression. It's time to offer them a different choice. 6 months after the discovery of the Chronos, the galaxy was transforming in ways no one could have predicted. The ship itself had become a pilgrimage site, with beings from hundreds of species making the journey to experience the architect's knowledge firsthand. But not all chose transcendence. Many species, comfortable in their current existence or fearful of change, established what became known as the preservation zones, regions of space where traditional forms of life and consciousness were maintained and protected. Captain Chen, now serving as the Director of Transcendent Affairs for the newly formed Galactic Evolution Council, stood once again in the core chamber of the Chronos. The crystalline structure pulsed with even greater intensity now, fed by the consciousness of thousands of transcendent beings across the galaxy. You have done well. The voice of the architect spoke, though Chen now understood it wasn't really a voice at all, but a direct transfer of meaning and emotion. The galaxy awakens to its true potential. It hasn't been without challenges, Chen replied, her own consciousness now expanded enough to communicate on multiple levels simultaneously. The hegemony hardliners have formed a resistance movement. Several species have declared transcendence a form of mental contamination, and there are other things stirring in the deep void. Yes, the architects acknowledged. Evolution always faces resistance, both from within and without. But you have given the galaxy something it has never had before: choice. True choice, backed by the power to make that choice meaningful. Chen nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility that came with such power. What happens now? Do we continue to spread transcendence? Do we force evolution on those who resist? That is not the way, the architects replied. Force creates only resentment and rebellion. True evolution must be chosen freely, embraced willingly. Your role is not to be conquerors, but gardeners. Plant the seeds of possibility and let consciousness itself decide when to bloom. Through her enhanced perception, Chen could sense the state of the galaxy. Pockets of transcended beings working together across species lines. Traditional civilizations adapting to the new reality in their own ways. And yes, resistance movements and fear-driven conflicts. But even these were evolving, finding new forms of expression and resolution. "Must spend the Chronos," she said. "Will it remain here?" "The ship has served its purpose as a catalyst," the architects explained. "But its true function is just beginning. It will become a nexus, a meeting point between dimensions where beings from across the galaxy can come to learn, to grow, to transcend their limitations." Chen smiled, feeling a deep sense of completion. The scared exploration captain who had first boarded this vessel 6 months ago seemed like a different person entirely. Yet she was still herself, still driven by curiosity and the desire to protect her crew and her species. "And humanity?" she asked. "What becomes of us?" "You become what you were always meant to be," the architects replied. "The bridge between what was and what could be. The species that chose growth over stagnation, cooperation over conquest, transcendence over extinction." 1 year later, the UES Chronos, no longer ancient but reborn through the merger of human ingenuity and architect wisdom, sailed through dimensions that existed beyond normal space-time. Its crew, a mixture of transcended humans and beings from dozens of other species, explored realities that previous generations couldn't even have imagined. Captain Chen stood on the bridge. But stood was perhaps the wrong word. Her consciousness existed simultaneously in the physical realm and in 17 other dimensions, her awareness spanning light years while still maintaining her individual identity. "Captain," called out Torres, who now served as the ship's dimensional navigator. "We're approaching the nexus point. The architects are requesting communication." Chen nodded, opening her consciousness to the vast network of transcended beings that now spanned multiple galaxies. What she found there filled her with wonder and hope. The architects hadn't been the only species to achieve transcendence. Throughout the universe, countless civilizations had made the same choice, evolving beyond their physical limitations to become gardeners of consciousness itself. And now, for the first time in cosmic history, they were all connected. "Welcome to the true galaxy," came the collective voice of trillions of transcendent beings. "Welcome to the community of minds that spans all realities. Your species has taken its first steps on an infinite journey." Chen felt tears of joy streaming down her face. Or perhaps it was her consciousness expressing emotion in the only way her human heritage could understand. "What comes next?" "Everything," came the reply. "Every possibility, every dream, every potential future that consciousness can conceive. The universe is vast beyond imagination, filled with wonders that await discovery. And now, you are part of the eternal voyage to explore them all." As the Chronos sailed deeper into the cosmic web of transcendent consciousness, Chen reflected on the journey that had brought them here. It had started with a simple exploration mission, a routine scan of an anomalous object in deep space. But it had become something far greater, the next chapter in the evolution of life itself. Behind them, the galaxy continued its transformation. Some species chose transcendence, others chose preservation, and still others found paths that combined both approaches. But all were free to choose. And that freedom, that fundamental right to determine one's own evolutionary destiny, was perhaps the greatest gift the architects had given them. The forgotten starship had been found. The lost time had been reclaimed. And humanity, along with countless other species, had discovered that the greatest adventure wasn't conquering the stars. It was becoming worthy of them. And there you have it, the incredible tale of the UES Chronos and humanity's first steps toward transcendence. A story that reminds us that sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't about finding new worlds, but about discovering what we're truly capable of becoming. This story raises fascinating questions about evolution, consciousness, and what it truly means to be human. In the comments below, I want to hear your thoughts. If you were offered the chance to transcend your current limitations but could never go back to what you were before, would you take it? What do you think consciousness evolution might actually look like? And do you believe that cooperation and growth are more powerful than conquest and domination? If this epic journey through space and consciousness captured your imagination, make sure to smash that like button. It really helps the channel reach other science fiction fans who love these deep, thought-provoking stories. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we've got more incredible tales of human potential, alien encounters, and cosmic adventures coming your way. I'm also curious, what other forgotten or lost science fiction concepts would you like to see explored? Ancient alien technology, time paradoxes, first contact scenarios gone wrong? Drop your suggestions in the comments, and you might just see your idea become the next epic story on this channel. Remember, the best science fiction doesn't just entertain us, it challenges us to think about who we are and who we might become. The universe is vast, full of infinite possibilities, and stories like this remind us that our greatest adventures might not be in conquering the stars, but in evolving ourselves to be worthy of them. Until next time, keep looking up, keep dreaming big, and never forget, in the grand cosmic story, we're all just getting started.